How's everybody doing? We good? I'm happy to see you guys. I just want to clear a few things up. I wasn't fired. Nobody beat me up. Nobody forced me to quit. My girlfriend didn't make me quit. None of that. Just sometimes there's just a need for change. And I gotta take my hat off. Sorry. Yeah, my grandmother would have killed me if she'd have seen that. So I'll just do that for now. I'm wearing a hat lately because I've been really lazy and I'm not shaving my head. For one, it's just like, why? I'm tired of shaving. Like I was gonna get like the laser stuff, but they said you can't do that on your head, and I was like, why not? They're just like, well, it could cause damage. It's like, I don't think there's anything left to damage. Like the damage is done, okay? It's not gonna hurt anything else. I'm gonna fall off of this is what's gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, it's good to be back. It's good to be here. God's still speaking to me. I still have a great relationship with Jesus. Everything is still good. There's just sometimes there's a time to change. There's a time, there's a time for all that. And I would go through that, but then I'd get mixed up in the song and all that stuff and everything. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean, right? There's just a time for things to happen. There's a lot of good things going on in my life. I got this job that I've been wanting for a long time. I'm so glad I finally got it, but it's about to kill me already. I'm only like 2 weeks in. And but I love it. I'm working nights, and that's anybody else that works nights. Hats off, because it is kicking my tail right now. And yeah, but I won't be there forever. It's a great job, and I can't complain about it. I don't have a single complaint. It is the night shift. It takes me out of a lot of activities, a lot of other things that I would like to do. But I feel like it's God's will for me to be in that job, because I think there's greater things to come through that job, and me being actually home and I'll say me being home. I'm still driving to Dallas every day, but it's different. I actually get paid to drive to Dallas now, so it's a little different. It doesn't sting as bad. You sit in 3 hours of traffic, it's no big deal. I can pay by the hour. I sat in like 4 wrecks in a row last night on my way back from Irving. And like Saturday nights is not a bad night to work until you're trying to drive from Irving across Dallas to Grand Saline at 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. And then it's rough because there's people that like to go out and party all night and then get on the roads, and it makes it for a dicey drive. And then of course Dallas, if you're a Dallas firefighter or emergency responder, no offense to you, but I mean, they block off like 3 lanes of traffic for a flat tire. So, when there's a wreck, it's like shut down, So it was like, all the lanes had to merge into one side. Like, I think it was like 3 left-hand lanes were closed at one time. And then we got going up. I mean, I barely got started shifting gears, and then it was like slow down again. And then it was all merge all the way to the left-hand lane. And then like barely get going, just merge all the way. It's like nonstop, like it's crazy. But anyway, it's all good. I'm no complaint, everything's good. But anyway, I just want to clear the air. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not ticked off. I didn't like just, I mean, there was little things, but it's not a big deal. I'm not mad. I'm not hurt. I'm not offended. Nobody fired me, It's nothing like that. It's just there's some things that are going on, personal life, job, and stuff like that it's right now, I just need to take a break. And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I love being pastor. I love teaching. I love speaking. I love playing in the band. I love worshiping. But when you've been going on like 24 hours and you haven't had no sleep, it takes it out of you a little bit. It's hard. It won't be like that forever, but anyway, it'll get better. Anyway, so the other night while I was driving, I was listening to some music, and I have an old iPod that I decided I would plug up, and it has loud too. This song came on called Flood. by this old band called Jars of Clay. Yeah. I used to love that song. I forgot all about it. I love that song. And I was like, and I started wondering, I was like, about their name. Where did they get their name, Jars of Clay? What about these jars of clay? What is a jar of clay? What, like, I just, like, my mind just, if you know me, you know this, my mind just starts kind of running circles around one little thing and, like, until I beat it to death, and then, and, like, all of a sudden, like, these different things, like, God started showing me, like, the significance of the jars of clay. And it was really cool, so I'm going to share it with you. And we're going to go there. We're going to be in John chapter 2, verse 1. Anybody wants to go there? I forgot. I did not tell the people in the back, so we may or may not have it on the back wall. I don't know. Maybe a different version. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which version we read out of. We can all read the same thing. We're going to talk about a few things. This story, I've taught on this story before. It's one of my favorite stories because, I don't know, I put a little bit of my personality in Jesus, and like when I read it, like there's just things I catch, and it's just kind of funny, and kind of, I don't know, it's like the story. It's something that's really cool, and I've always wondered like the significance of this story and what all is there, and then this time God showed me there's something different there, and I got something different out of this story, and so it's just really cool. It's like, and the Bible's alive like that, it's cool. It's really cool. Anyway, we're going to be in John chapter 2. I don't know if anybody's there or not. Verse 1. It says, the next day, there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. The wine supply ran out during the festivities. First of all, with some of your religion, I don't know how that works out, because if wine's involved, you're automatically going to hell on some of you, but we're just going to bypass that one for right now. Jesus was present in the presence of wine, and everybody survived. And it gets even better. Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him, they have no more wine. This is my favorite part of the whole story. Woman, that's not our problem. Has your wife ever come to you or anything and be like, oh, hey, the in-laws are coming to town, my mom's coming to town or anything? And you're like, so? Oh, they're staying here. What? No, I'm just kidding. Like, what does it have to do with me? Why are you getting me involved? Now all of a sudden I got to be like getting everything ready and fixing this and fixing that. All the guest bedroom's been destroyed for months or years, and now all of a sudden I got to have it ready in like 3 days. And I don't know. I just insert my own like personal like stuff in that, and I just see like this is my favorite part. I'm sorry. Whatever. I just love it. I'm going to read it again. The dear woman. I just like to leave the dear off. Woman. That's not our problem. Jesus replied, my time has not yet come. But his mother told the servants, do whatever he tells you. Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washing. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. When the jars had been filled, he said, now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, whoa, not knowing where it had come from, though, of course, the servants knew. He called the bridegroom over. A host always serves the best wine first. He said, then, when everyone else has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. but you have kept the best wine until now. There's a lot going on here that I've caught it before, but I didn't catch it with the significance that I caught it with this time. And I'm just going to kind of hit on a couple of points, and then we're going to get a little bit deeper here. First of all, I want to point out here, we call ourselves Christians because we believe and we accept Christ and God changes our life, and we start to walk in the path of Jesus, and we try to live out the teachings and the livings and the love and the work of Jesus. But from what I've seen, we don't do it with the same intentions that Jesus done it. We have selfish motives. We want to serve to be praised. We want to serve so we can get recognition. If we don't get any recognition, if nobody knows our name, we don't want a part of it. If we don't get lifted up, we don't want to be the one doing it. That's why nobody wants to work in the nursery, but everyone wants to be on the stage. No one wants to work on the back wall, but everyone wants to speak. Except for Chance. Everyone wants to be lifted up, but no one wants to do the job behind the scenes. Like, look, I'm cool with being behind the scenes. I'm cool. I like to teach. I like to speak. But anybody that knows me, I don't talk a lot. I know that's hard to believe. But I don't. You get me out at a restaurant or something and we're hanging out, I don't say a whole lot. I'm just not I'm a social person, but at a distance. Like, I like to have fun. I like to hang out. I like to be social. I like my little circle of friends. I like where I'm comfortable, but I'm not just all out there, just meet and greet every person, never meet a stranger. I'm just not that guy. I'm just not. I don't know what that means or not or matters, but anybody that really knows me knows that what I'm doing right here is extremely out of character. Anybody that has known me, especially from high school, knows that this is I've got some horror stories. They try to put me in plays and stuff, and I couldn't do that for nothing. I don't want to be seen. I was scared to death to get up there. Someone see me trying to act or say something. Whew. Anyway. But see, Jesus had the servants do the stuff, and then the servants took, and who got the recognition? The groom. I guarantee you, if we would have been one of the servants, we would have took credit for that. I guarantee you. We'd have been like, "You're welcome." Don't tell Jesus. Hey, don't tell him I said that. That's what we do. And then we wonder why everything's not working. And then we wonder why we have so many people come into the church and then go out of the church and say, "Yeah, I went for a month and I don't even know that they knew I was there." I was going, but I didn't feel welcome. Now, we get all kinds of excuses. I get it. There's people that are going to come in here, and they'll come in here with a reason they're not coming back before they even get here. The walls are too black. Why are you staring at the walls? They met in caves, at one time. Not all of our walls are black. We got one that's partially black. Just don't look up. And then we got some gray. Like, if that matters to you, it's... if that matters the most to you, I'm sorry. Like, we may not be the church for you. And I'm okay with that. Because they have other churches down there that have all white walls. And big, bright fluorescent lights. I remember I used to blame the fluorescent lights. When I was in school, I blamed the fluorescent lights for me sleeping in class. They're just made, like, they're so bright. It is. It's like there's something about them that just makes it boring. Makes it more boring. And I was just like, I'd be out. I'm going to tell a story real quick. I don't have a whole lot. Well, I guess. This didn't involve me, kind of. We had this friend. I'm not going to mention his name. It's one of my best friends growing up, and we had this class, and we had these, you know those white tables? Those plastic, like, tables? I don't know. Anyway. We use them out here sometimes. Anyway. We had a class, and that's what the tables, that was, we sat at these tables, and the teacher usually walked in back and forth in the middle or whatever, and the tables were kind of in like a horseshoe. And we were sitting there one time, and there was usually about 2 to 3 of us at a table, and I think it was 3 of us at a table this time, and my buddy, he was in the middle, I was on the end, and then there's another buddy on the other end. And the guy in the middle, my good friend, he was like, you know, looked like he was reading or something. And he had fallen asleep. And I don't know what he was dreaming, but apparently something big happened because he jumped. And when he jumped, it flipped over the whole table. Like, it was like a boom, boom. And like, I remember the teacher he was like, you all right? What happened? And then my buddy was like, look at me, he's like, what'd y'all do to me? What'd y'all do? Like, he swore we'd done something to him. But we didn't do it. I mean, I didn't even know what was going on. I was just leaning back. I was barely staying awake myself. And like, I guess he was the only one like kind of leaning on the table. And when he jumped, he like knocked the whole table over. Anyway, so that whole rabbit trail over fluorescent lights. That's how this works here, just so you know. Yeah. This clay, I want to talk about this clay for a second. The jars. These jars, these are like huge jars, 20, 30 gallons, okay? Like, these are big jars. I don't know how big that is, 20 or 30 gallons, pretty big. I mean, I know like those drums, what are those, like 50 gallons? So like, you know, still pretty big jar, okay? Big jar. And, you know, and they were stone. I'm sure that they were made out of clay and, you know, the whole pottery stuff. And so I'm thinking about this clay, and over in, let's see, I think it's Jeremiah. I did not mark this. So, yeah, great. Jeremiah, what is it, 18, 6. There's this one verse, 18:6. It says, O Israel, can I not do to you as this potter has done to his clay? As the clay is in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand. And it's like, when I read that, anybody know who T.D. Jakes is? Yes. And his place is called the Potter's House? Yes. That's awesome. It's like a light bulb moment. Like just this week, I was like, oh, I get it. The Potter's house. God's house. God's the potter. This never registered to me. See, I told you, the brain cells are already gone. And then I was like, oh, the potter, he's talking about Israel. Like, we're in his hands, right? Remember we talked about we're like the bread, we're in his hands. Blessed or broken. Well, what about the clay? What about the clay? Breasts are broken, but are you willing to be molded? Are you willing to be shaped? No, we're not. We want the blessing, and we'll handle a little bit of the broken if we're going to get the blessing. But when it comes to shaping and molding, I want a part. Because that ain't fun either. Because we want it our way. We want it our way. We could care less about God's way most of the time. Because we have our own agendas way up at the top. Way up at the top. We have our own ideas way at the top. And then all of a sudden it doesn't work out and we're like, where's God? Well, he wasn't included in the first place, so I don't know why you expected him to, like... This clay. See, I want to remind you of something real quick. God knows how to save your friends and family. He can do it actually without you. He can do it without us. Isn't that crazy? Like, we don't have to be Bible thumping people and pushing them down and kicking them. We actually don't have to. You know, all we got to do is love them. All we got to do is love. That's crazy. That's simple. And we can't get it right. Love. All we got to do is love. But we can't love because we're too busy being offended. We've got issues, guys. We have got issues. We can't love him because we're too offended. If he cuts me off one more time, I promise, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna push him in the ditch. I'm not even gonna stop. I already told y'all that story. I didn't do it. It was my brother. I don't condone it whatsoever. He had this guy that kept getting in front of him and slowing down, and he said finally, he's like, I just never let off. I just kept on going, push him right in the ditch. Then they got his license plate number, and then he got called, and he had to go to court and all this stuff. So that was another mess. So we're too busy being offended. We're too busy having our own ideas ahead of God's. We'll never see God move. We'll never see God work until he's tired of putting up with us. I guess. I don't know. We have to be willing to be molded, to be shaped, and to be used if we want to see God do anything in this church. We have to be willing to be like the clay. Not even like the servants. We have to be like the clay before we can be the servants. So about this clay. I wrote this. Clay has no plans of its own. Clay has no plans of its own. Clay is just there, waiting, ready to be used. Ready to be taken in to the hands of the potter, shaped and formed and used the way he sees fit. It has no aspirations for service. That's the big one. That's the biggest one in my opinion. Because we don't want to do it if we're not going to get glory for it. We don't want to be involved if we're not going to get glory for it. We don't want any part in it. Has no reluctance to do what God has asked it to do, created it to do, formed it to do, shaped it to you do. It has no reluctance. It doesn't matter. They are not going to appreciate what you do for them. I guarantee it. No one is going to appreciate what you do. I guarantee it. Because you're going to have it built up in your head that they're going to appreciate it in a certain way, and they're not going to live up to it. Because when God's using you, you're going into it expecting this like radical, big production, life-changing something, and it's not going to happen that way. I guarantee it. I'm not saying it won't. I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying you're going to go in with a mindset, and it's not going to work out that way. It's not your plans. Your plans aren't always right. My plans aren't always right. My ideas aren't always right. Here is the biggest key. The clay is submissive. We don't know how to submit to authority. We can't submit to the speed limit. Talk about authority. I've got the street now where I live, and the speed limit's 30, and that's the stupidest thing in the world because this is a big, brand new, it's the smoothest road I drive on all day long. And it's 30 miles an hour. You could do 45 easy. You could do 65 on it because it's a heck of a lot better than a lot of the roads around here. It's better than some sections of 20. Like, it's a good road. It's wide open. It's like, there's nothing around. It's in the middle of a field. And the speed limit's like 30. There's not even houses around. There's not no schools around or nothing. And I came blazing through there the other day, not even thinking what I was just like, I had the music going, and I was like, I wasn't late for work or nothing. I was just going. And then I came over this hill, and there's a cop. You know that feeling where all of a sudden you just can't breathe? Gosh, dang it. He's going to get me. I'm not even going to slow down. He had to have been asleep because apparently he didn't see me because I was doing well over 30. He had to have been taking a break or something, sleep. I don't know what he was doing. Yeah. I just knew he had me, and I thought, man, I'm not even paying attention to the speed limit, like, we all do it, but then sometimes we're getting like, if you're on 20 and you're not doing 95, yeah, they don't like you. You're not their friend. And I don't know what it is about 20. If traffic's doing like 90 or 40. Like, you always get behind that one jackwagon that he's having a good old time or something. He's, something else going on in that car that, like, different kind of air freshener or something. And he's just like 45 and he's like, eh. He's just cruising. Ain't no big hurry. And you got just a whole line of traffic, and then you got the big truck trying to pass. He can't go over 65 anyway. And then when there's a hill, you're like, geez, we're never going to get past this guy. You can see all that open space up there. All that open space. And you got this dude, he's driving a Camaro. He don't even have a reason to be going slow. And then you got the truck trying to pass that he just can't. Yeah. That's one of the most frustrating things. I'm sorry. I mean, that's my weakness. I'm working on it. Patience. I have a lot of patience when it comes to a lot of things until it comes to some people driving. And you know what's funny? I talk to a lot of people and they have that same problem. And I'm like, why do we have so many people driving? Who are we missing? I thought I talked to everybody. I thought we covered this. Submission is the key. Because until we learn to submit, we're not usable. God's not, I'm not saying that God can't use you, because God can use your weakness. God's going to use your weakness most likely before he's going to use your strength. Just a heads up. You don't like to talk in front of people? Sorry. There might be a day you have to talk in front of people. A lot. I once left the church. I said I was never coming back. I was working with the youth in this church, and we had some stuff happen within the church, and I left that church, and I was like, I'm never going back. I won't set foot back in the church. That's how it works out, just so you know. That's how it works out. Just say I'll never. Say it. That's how it works. Submission to authority has everything to do with how God's going to work within the body. He can't use that clay if it's not going to submit to his molding. I found that this story has very little to do about the wine and has a lot to do with the clay. It even has very little to do with the servants. It has everything to do with the clay, with the jars. The clay. We have to be like the clay before we can ever be like the servants. Because if we can't be moldable, pliable, usable, shapeable, we're going to be going against the grain. We're going to be butting heads with God's will. Non-stop. Non-stop. Some of us need to put our agendas aside. Some of us need to close our mouths a little bit. There's this great woman that done this message called Two Ears, One Mouth. I will never forget that one. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Why are we running our mouth? I had a rumor get back to my mom this week. And I'm not going to trace it down. I'm not going to call. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that. It didn't even come from someone inside this church who told her. But they said that someone said, and that stuff gets under my skin really fast. You want to go talk rumors? Go ahead. That's not how you're going to build your church up. You want to go tell another church stuff that's not actually happening here? You want to tell them rumors about what's going on with the pastor? Go ahead. Because that's between you and God. Because God's going to take care of this place. Okay? And if that's you, I'm sorry. But you may have some come to Jesus that needs to take place. It's sad when someone has to go voice what they think is going on to someone else in another church. And then that person in that other church tells my mom, not realizing that that's her son they're talking about. Like when I first heard it, my rage just went. I was ready to let loose on someone. But you know what? It's not worth it for me. I ain't on that level. I had the initial rage. But I'm not going there. You can go down, you can stay down there if you want. I'm not going down there. Your tongue will do more damage than anything else. Our tongues, our words will destroy our families. It will destroy our friends. It will destroy our church. And if that's how you want to serve your church, I'm sorry. You're not doing God any favors. Some of us have to put our own agendas aside. Some of us can't wait for someone else to fail. Some of us can't wait for someone else to give up. That's not the clay that God wants to use. That's not the clay that God wants to use. We have to be shapeable. We have to be selfless. We have to be pliable and moldable before we can ever be usable. If we're unteachable, we're unusable. I honestly believe that God can transform any person in any situation. He can transform any situation. He can transform any person, any household, any person he wants to. He can transform every single one of us. If we would see God move in ways that we've never seen, that we can't even imagine, if we would just put our selfish junk down and actually serve God the way we're supposed to serve. God wants to use us. We are the vessels. We are who he's going to use. He's going to use us in our strength. He's going to use us in our weakness. He's going to use us. But we're not going to get the glory. We're not going to get the glory. We're not going to get the recognition. It's okay. We don't have to have it. We don't need it. It's not ours to begin with. It's not. It's not about us. And if it is, we're going in with the wrong intentions. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And we're going to hurt the ones around us. And we're going to make a big, huge mess. It's not about us. If we can't submit to authority, like that submission to authority, that's like a month, that's like a series. We could teach on that for a long time. And I'm guilty. Okay, I'm guilty. I'm not bashing you. I'm saying we. When we refuse to obey the speed limit, we're directly disobeying God's authority. God places all authority. I know, I get frustrated with the speed limits. I don't agree with all of them. But it's that simple. What about our lawmakers? We don't submit to all the laws. It's all right, I've got this. I'll do this my way anyway. And guess what happens? Somebody ends up getting hurt. Maybe you may not agree with the way your boss does things. I had a boss like that one time. Luckily, I love my boss now. I didn't agree at one time. I had this job, and like this guy has lost his mind. He don't know what he's talking about. But we have to submit to authority. We have to submit to our leaders. We may not like it, but if we will honor God there may be something else coming along, okay? We don't have to take it in our own hands all the time. God may actually see a bit bigger picture that we don't see, and there might be something along the way that if we would just, you ever have like your kid, you tell them like to do something, and they won't do it that way. Finally, you're just like, fine, do it your way. And what happens? Then they come back crying, they're all scraped up, and they're like, told you. Tried to tell you. I feel like that's what we're doing. Like, we have to be moldable. We have to be shapeable. We've got to let go. We've got to get our hands off of some things. Okay? We have got to quit being so offended. It's getting ridiculous, guys. We have got to let go. We have got to become more submissive to what God's trying to do here. God's working on somebody. He's working on someone. He's showing someone something, I guarantee it. He's changing someone's life. And if we would just stop pounding them over the head about something, you know what, and just love them a little bit, and just put our arms around them, and just be there like a family is supposed to be there for one another, we might actually see God's will take place before our very eyes. We might see His miracles. We might see His work. We might see things happen. We might see someone's gifts come to life if we would just let go and get out of the way. There's people in this room, I guarantee you, that have gifts. There's someone here that has a gift of healing, but we won't let them use it because it's weird. And our religion says it's weird. And I didn't grow up that way, and so it's weird. And Mama didn't teach me that way, so it's weird. And I don't agree with it. I don't like it. Someone here has a gift that can be a life-changing experience for someone else, but they want to make it all about them, and so they're just prolonging the process. We've got things to use. We have the tools. If we would just let God shape us, form us, mold us, and make us pliable, and use us, we are the tools. If we would just let Him shape us the way we're supposed to be shaped. There's good things happening. There are great things happening. Great things and greater things to come. I have no doubt that God has our city, our community, our county in His hands. I have no doubt that God has our church in His hands. Look, He's going to take care of it. He's got this, all right? We don't have to get our hands in it. We don't have to show Him what to do. We don't have to. He's got it. He can handle it, this big boy. He can handle it. I want God to use me. But in order for God to use me, I have to be willing to be shaped. I have to be willing to be the clay. I have to be the clay. It's not always going to feel good. Just heads up. It's not always going to feel good. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be the way you want it to be. But if you'll submit to what God's calling you and doing with you, it's going to turn out. And it's going to turn out much better. It's going to turn out much better than our way. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it. So that's my challenge. Who's willing to be the clay? Maybe sometimes. It depends. What is it? Let me hear it first. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. But are we willing? We have to be the clay before we can be the servants. That's what I got from that story. That's what I got from that whole brainstorm. Where did this jars of clay name come from? That's what happens when you get me driving for 2 or 3 hours and sitting around. God will speak to you if you just let him. God will show you how to restore your family if you just let him. God will show you how to restore this church if you just let him. Take our mouths out of it. Take our hands off of it. Put our ideas, stuff aside, and let God lead the way. And I guarantee you this place could be life-changing. Life-changing. You know, I said I'd never step foot in the church again. I said I'm never, and I remember my wife at the time, she was like begging me to come to this church. And I'm like, I'm not going. I don't want to go. I don't care. She's like, you'll like the music. I don't care. And finally, she wore me down. You guys, you know what I mean. Finally, wore me down. And so I went. And I don't know what was going on here. I couldn't tell you what Todd talked about that day. I could not tell you the songs they played. But I know when I came in here and I stood against we didn't have the stuff in the back then. It was like scooted up. I don't remember where. It was like scooted up or something. And I sat in the back and I leaned against the wall. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. But I kind of like it. And all of a sudden, I could feel it. And I felt something that I had never felt before. I'd been in church my whole life. Until the point I said, I'm never going back. And then I went a few years, and then I came here, and all of a sudden, I felt something different, and God started working and speaking and changing, and I didn't like it, and I started fighting, and I started drinking more, and I started riding my motorcycle more, and I started partying more, and I just tried to do everything I could. I wasn't going back, and finally, that was it. I gave up. I had been, I have to tell the story later because it's a long story. And anyway, I had started getting sick. I had started getting extremely sick. Like, I'm talking like, I thought I was going to die a few times. Like, throwing up. It was bad. Every day. I was always fine until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Sometimes 9 o'clock. And I would get sick, and then it got to where I was getting so sick I couldn't go to work the next day. And finally I figured out, like, and every time I get sick, I get more and more sick, and then like, but what you didn't know is like, I was also drinking every day. And I would stop on 20. There used to be a drive-through beer store like just outside of Box Springs, and I would drive through there, and I would get like my 24 pack, and I would sometimes I'd have I'm not going to say. I'd have quite a few killed before I even got home. Every day. And then all of a sudden, like I was getting so sick, like I'm not drinking today. You know that feeling? I'm not. Yeah. I'm not judging you. I used to do it too. Like, I'm not drinking this weekend, guys. Last weekend, guilty. Like, I was getting like that every day. Finally, I was like, I can't drink. I quit drinking, and I quit getting sick. What? I was getting sick. Like, I would have 2 or 3 beers, and I was getting, sick. Like, sick, like I couldn't go to work the next day sick. Like, off of a couple of beers, that doesn't sound right. Finally, I quit drinking. I came here again, and life, took a turn, and then now here I am. I'm telling you, never say never. And what I didn't know that was going on behind the scenes was there's this group of people praying that my body would start rejecting alcohol. And that's what was going on. Yeah. Sounds crazy. Trust me. I didn't like it. It was weird. It freaked me out. It scared me. It made me scared to go in there. I don't want them finding out everything about me. But God got a hold of me, and God changed my life. It's for the better. It's for the better. See, there's a way to live, and then there's a way to live better. We have to be the clay. We have to be the clay. That's my message for you today.